Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had 42 points in his last game and is looking ever so much like the MVP, and OKC is looking like they are going to win this championship. I want to spend a lot more time on the Lakers-Rockets series, not because I thought that it's not the fact that I was essentially right about the series. Like, this series is over. It just depends on whether or not the Rockets got on a plane to go to LA or not. But how a team you can just feel it. You know what I mean? Like, you can almost just feel how much a team's got no backbone. It's got no juice to it. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff it goes into someone like Kevin Durant for a couple of reasons. One, he's the younger of the two guys in this series, in the old man series, in this old man leaves town matchup that we talked about. And he's the guy who can't play. It's being reported right now that Kevin Durant did not play in game 4. I have no idea if the Rockets were able to win that game or not. But if they did, it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to play in game 5, even if that were to happen. And this series isn't going to go longer than 5 games at that point. But just the fact that Durant seems to not it's almost like he's missing the texture of what makes a team a team. You know, I remember this before, people saying this story, how like Kevin Durant, when he was in high school, went to 4 different high schools. And I think he spent 1 year at Texas, and then he was in the NBA at that point. And I think basketball almost just became so transactional for him, where he plays, he goes home, but there's no connective tissue to his teammates. I mean, he made that burner account. Like, that was him. Okay. Like, that account has ceased to tweet or DM or do whatever ever since he got caught. Like, that was him. Okay. And while I'm not saying he was wrong about some of those things, like Jabari Smith, oh, buddy, that boy cannot shoot. Like, he is just not someone that I think galvanizes the team. And it's from team to team to team to team. And he's going to get out again. And I can't believe that he's going to burn a bridge with another team. And this, to me, was the team. I originally had the Rockets getting to the finals. But the reason why I fell off that was mostly because of Fred VanVleet tearing his ACL. And a lot of people were kind of hyping up this Ahmed Thompson playing point guard. And I'm like, y'all don't realize how much of having a point guard actually matters. Like, you can't just play around with not having a point guard. You either have one or you have some version of a guy who's maybe a little bit of hybrid of one, like a Luka Doncic, if you argue he's like a little hybrid, a LeBron on your team. Even a team like the Magic have some version of it with Suggs and Paolo and Franz. Like, they've been able to make it kind of mesh together. But if you don't have a guy who's actually excellent at making decisions, they're not going to win the playoffs. That's why they lost all these clutch games, because they're so bad at making decisions when the team is locked in the last, 6 to 5 minutes of close basketball games. It was the main reason I didn't pick them to win this series, even with Luka and Austin Reeves out. Fundamentally, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest basketball players to ever play this game. He is also just the biggest enigma that I've ever seen, because his talent is undeniable. But whatever that extra level, that deep touch that you need, he just doesn't seem to have that. And it's always been something that I think plagues him. I don't think Kevin Durant's a bad guy. I think Kevin Durant is pretty much beloved, And I've turned my kind of personal, let me rephrase that. It's not really personal. I've never had a personal issue with Kevin Durant. But just turned I think a lot of misunderstanding around for him, because a lot of times I felt as if he was almost like us, like I said, the subject of our first social media wars was largely Kevin Durant and his decision to go to Golden State. And we don't even realize how much that affects people's mentally. And I think once whatever that happened, once that moment, that decision was made, something inside of his relationship with basketball really changed. And he just, at that group setting, that love, it just never came anymore. And now he's going to ask for another trade. He'll get traded to somewhere. I don't know where. That will definitely be summer content that I will try to think about is the best Kevin Durant trades. It's honestly, it's a new thing every single year, right? Like him and Harden just keep swapping teams every once in a while. The craziest thing, just off the top of my head, we bring the band back together, but for the expansion team of Seattle and give them back Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, that would be fire. But that to me is just his whole dig, is just unfortunately just staying with that. Sliding on down to Spurs, Trailblazers. Thank you, Trailblazers, for making it interesting for about 2 games. Unfortunately, this series is also over. They just got blown out at home by the Spurs. This was the Spurs' first time ever, they said on the broadcast, that they were down by 15 in the playoff game and won by more than 15 points. It's not necessarily even to talk about this playoff series, but it's more to talk about the path that I think is being laid out, because there's no reason why Spurs Thunder shouldn't be the Western Conference Finals. You have this OKC team that hasn't lost a game yet and has frankly dominated the Suns in their matchup, are going to now get a Lakers team, which, yes, Luka and Reeves might be back for both of those for that series, but they've just handled the Lakers so much, and it's so easy to see how OKC is just going to completely put Reeves and Luka in different actions and not allow them to get settled in on the offensive end and just get into their chests. So I think OKC has a very, very favorable matchup when it comes to the Lakers in the next round. And for the Spurs, they're either going to get, just the hospital bed that is the Timberwolves, with, unfortunately, Dante, fan favorite, popping his Achilles, and Edwards essentially having a bone bruise in his knee. He's going to miss multiple weeks. Minnesota, who I do think can still win that series, but we'll get more into that in a bit. Or take on this Denver team that, as Jaden McDaniels said, can't guard anybody. And while the matchups are going to be different, obviously, for whoever gets in there, the Spurs, I think, are just playing with such a crispness, and have this force of like, we do not care. We are trying to win the championship right here, right now. And that's what Wemby's mindset is. And I think that team feeds off of that. And so OKC Spurs, I think, is going to be the rivalry of this next decade. These two teams are still very young. None of their core players, I believe, is over like 29. So you have a couple of years for these guys to get their runway in and see who can reign supreme in the Western Conference. That doesn't really have any other earth-shaking team currently in it that can get these guys to fall off. So that's just the top side of it for the Spurs. And the last series that we have to do is the black and blue series, because as multiple people are hurt and multiple people are getting into fights all the time. Nuggets, Wolves. I had the Wolves winning this series. I still think that the Wolves are going to win this series. I think it's just hard for a Denver team to win 3 straight games when they have just not looked good offensively against Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves are essentially missing their entire backcourt. Like I just said before, Ant's hurt, Dante is hurt, and the Wolves are really going to struggle offensively. However, we have not seen any way that the Nuggets can guard these guys. And I think that while Jokic has gotten a lot of credit and has been considered the best player in the world, I do think, and I thought this going in to the season this year, this was going to be the last season that we ever thought that Victor Wembanyama was not the best player in the world. And if he loses in round 1, now it's not going to come out this way because Ant did play, Dante did play in most of the series, but if he loses to essentially a half-decent Wolves team that he's lost to now 2 times in the postseason, there is going to be a lot louder conversations about his defense and how it is going to be really tough to keep having him and Jamal Murray together on a team. And I do think that his status as the best player in the world, he's probably going to finish second in MVP this year. He's still a great, great player. But these things move fast. And Victor having, whether it's him beating Jokic straight up in the next round or him beating the team that Jokic couldn't beat, that narrative is going to build to a point where I just don't think he's going to be able to withstand what will be coming. And I think it is simply Victor becoming the player that I think we all think he will be and his space on top of the mountaintop. So that's the NBA playoffs. Again, shout out to them. This has been an awesome first round. In the first round that I did not think was going to be this good. And I think the second round could be even better, which will probably start taking off at the end of next week into the week after that.